Your phone rings, buzzes, demands, and screams like an alarm that never ends. Messages, deadlines, obligations, expectations. You wake up already tired and go to bed with your mind racing. The world insists that productivity means running faster, grinding harder, never stopping. But what if that's a trap? What if true freedom doesn't come from doing whatever you want, but from living under a discipline that protects your soul from chaos? Nearly 1,500 years ago, a man named Saint Benedict wrote a simple but profound rule. He wasn't seeking fame, fortune, or recognition. He simply wanted to live faithfully before God. Yet his rule has freed countless people, century after century, from the slavery of exhaustion and disorder. Even today, in the quiet corners of monasteries or in people's homes around the world, his wisdom transforms lives. It reminds us that true power is not doing everything, but doing the right things with purpose. We live in a society obsessed with efficiency. More apps, more tools, more shortcuts. But our hearts remain restless. We measure our output in clicks and numbers, but deep down we are empty. We drown in information, but we starve for wisdom. We hustle endlessly, but it feels like running on a treadmill that leads nowhere. The ancient world was also chaotic, full of wars and corruption, but in the middle of it, Benedict offered an answer: inner order. His rule was not just for monks hidden in monasteries. It was, and still is, a roadmap for any soul longing for balance, peace, and clarity in the midst of confusion. Even a modern professional, overwhelmed by meetings, emails, and pressure, can find in these ancient instructions a blueprint to reclaim focus, regain energy, and nurture the soul. At the center of this way of life stands a simple Latin phrase: ora et labora, pray and work. For Saint Benedict, prayer and work were not opposites, but companions. He saw daily labor as a way to glorify God, and prayer as the rest that gave meaning to work. Today, many people work only for weekends, seeing labor as something to escape from. But Benedict invites us to sanctify it. He shows us that every task, washing, building, writing, caring for others, can become prayer when done in God's presence. Balance between prayer, work, and rest is not weakness. It is the only rhythm that prevents us from burning out. Consider the artist painting for hours, the teacher guiding students, or the parent caring for a family. All can be living prayers when approached with intention and awareness. But Benedict also understood something modern life resists. Without a rule, we become slaves to our impulses. He wrote, "The idleness of the wandering mind is the enemy of the soul." His monks voluntarily submitted their lives to the rule. To modern ears, this sounds restrictive. Yet discipline is freedom. When you have a clear code, you no longer waste energy deciding every little thing. The path is already set. And this doesn't apply only to monks. You too can create a rule for life. Daily prayer, scripture reading, work with focus, time for silence. Such habits protect your heart from being ruled by every impulse or distraction. Think of a modern professional deciding the night before what tasks will be tackled first. The structure allows flow, focus, and peace of mind. Saint Benedict himself proved the cost of living by a rule. In one of his earliest communities, when he tried to bring order, some monks resisted so strongly that they even attempted to poison him. But when he blessed the cup, it shattered in pieces before he could drink. That miracle was more than protection. It was a sign. A life of spiritual discipline will always be tested. The world resists true order, but faithfulness rooted in God cannot be destroyed. Benedict's perseverance gave birth to monasteries that would preserve not only faith, but culture, knowledge, and stability for generations. Every act of fidelity, small or great, echoes through time. Another principle of his rule is the vow of stability. A Benedictine monk promises to remain in the same monastery, with the same brothers, for life. To us, raised in a culture of constant change, this sounds suffocating. We change jobs, cities, and even relationships whenever things grow difficult. But Benedict knew, a tree grows deep roots only when it remains in one place. Stability forces us to work through conflicts instead of fleeing. It shapes loyalty, character, and mastery. In our restless world, the rule teaches: stop running, stay, build, grow roots where you are. This could mean committing to a craft, a career, or a community. The rewards are invisible at first, but over time they accumulate into wisdom and strength no fleeting trend can replace. Humility was also central for Benedict, so much so that he wrote about a ladder of humility with 12 rungs. It is not about weakness or self-hatred, but about living in truth. Humility means admitting your faults, listening to others, refusing to seek glory for yourself. He wrote, "Humility is the ladder by which we ascend to heaven. Pride traps us, forcing us to defend ourselves constantly. But humility frees us. The humble man is not crushed by criticism, because his strength comes from God. Humility, far from weakness, is the starting point of true greatness and the foundation of all growth. Every act of honest self-reflection, every small confession of error, is a step upward." Another core part of the rule is silence. Benedict required his monks to practice long periods of silence, especially at night. For us, silence is terrifying. We fill every gap with music, podcasts, notifications, or endless scrolling. Why? Because silence confronts us with our fears, our anxieties, our unhealed wounds. But silence is where God speaks. It is where clarity is born. It is where peace becomes possible. Try what Benedict commanded. Put the phone down, turn off the noise, and remain still. Silence is not emptiness. It is where we finally hear God. Even 5 minutes of deliberate quiet each day can begin to reshape your mind, freeing you from panic, distraction, and doubt. The rule of Saint Benedict is not a relic of the past. It is a spiritual operating system for life. It teaches balance between prayer and work, discipline that frees us, stability that grows roots, humility that strengthens us, and silence that gives clarity. You don't need to wear a habit or enter a monastery to live by it. Apply it in your daily life. Pray before you act. Work with intention. Stay faithful to your commitments. Choose humility instead of pride. Embrace silence instead of noise. The wisdom of the 6th century still answers the struggles of the 21st. So what about you? Will you remain a prisoner of notifications, impulses, and distractions? Or will you build a life of order, depth, and peace? Saint Benedict showed us that serenity is possible even in chaos. The decision is in your hands. If this message touched you, share it with someone who needs it. Subscribe and walk with us as we learn from the saints how to face the modern world with discipline and faith. And may Saint Benedict intercede for us, guiding us to live with balance, courage, and unshakable peace.